Hi, it's been a little while I didn't post. I've been reading up on shadow work. I've been reading up on um, I've been reading up different books that talks about inner growth, how to work on yourself, and mainly how to let go. And I think this is a very fitting concept to talk about letting go. How does this tie in with shadow work? So shadow work will be triggered and so brought to light for you to work on by different connections that you meet throughout life. These can be unforeseen connections that have been planted in your life plan in order to work on certain aspects of yourself that only these people can bring out in you. It can be long time connections like family. It can also be new connections, but also very close connections, such as your kids. So there's all kinds and types of connections. Some are there for support, are there to bring out the positive, but a lot of connections are there for you to realize what you have to work on. And it's one thing to not be aware at first and go through these different connections and feel the resistance and feel like they were put in your life for negative purposes. But once you change your mindset and you start to realize that you meet everybody for a reason in your life, then things start changing quickly and rapidly. So let's say that you are someone that gets very easily frustrated, and let's say that you just so happen to have a kid who gets easily frustrated, and that in itself triggers you because you recognize yourself in your kid, right? So everybody, if that's your life plan, can be given a personality that challenges you to face your own personality and accept those parts in yourself. And sometimes you won't have a choice but to face that part of yourself, because in order to be able to, for example, raise your kid or stay in touch with that family member or keep that romantic connection in your life, you'll have to address these issues. Now, you can choose not to address these issues, and you can choose to not change and basically uh, keep living how you've always been living. That's definitely an option that's there for you. And most of the time, when someone is not ready to change, that's just because they're they 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 aren't ready. There's missing component for that person to move on to the next level, and sometimes that's only in a future lifetime that's going to happen. So if you want to focus on yourself, start being aware of what the different types of connections bring into your life. Start changing your mindset and seeing things sort of like, okay, is this connection teaching me things? Is this connection bringing me the opportunities that I need in order to work on my triggers, on myself? Um, we're talking about shadow parts here, but it can also be the opposite, right? That connection can be there in order for you to celebrate the positive aspects of yourself, right? If you're a compassionate person, maybe you're meeting somebody that needs a lot of your compassion, and that's just to bring out that future in you. If you're someone that's impulsive, maybe you're meeting someone that brings out that impulsivity in you in order to tame that a bit, right? Because I mean, an impulse might have helped you when you were young to defend yourself, right? If we look at the fight or flight concept, being impulsive and taking charge, and that can be part of like the fighting mechanism that you feel the urge to use when you feel like you're trying to survive. But later on in life, that impulsivity is probably not helping you anymore, right? You need to become someone that's more patient and that thinks before. And everybody has that in themselves, but then again, that impulsivity can give you some great things in life, right? Like it might just be the fuel you need to your fire in order to achieve, one of the of your objectives, for example, right? So again, another shadow part could be how unfocused you are sometimes, right? Because here I'm going to touch a bit upon things such as ADHD, where a lot of people get diagnosed because they have a big lack of focus, they're impulsive, they have a hard time managing emotions, and a lot of time that stems from childhood trauma. And the link is not clear yet for everybody, but when you look into it, you can clearly see how the brain develops when you're in and when you're growing up with certain types of trauma. For example, as a kid, you don't always have the option to fight or flight. So, like a third option would be to freeze and dissociate. So, your focus is no longer on the situation, and that's how you were able to survive, right? But then that's that became a shadow part of yourself, and subconsciously you have disowned this part of yourself because now you're looking at things like people think I don't pay attention to them, or people think I'm not in the moment, or I'm lost in space when they talk to me. And that might be very true. That's how people feel about you, but they don't know the why, right? Because many people are not aware. And it's only when you stop and think about it and you observe yourself and when do you dissociate, why, in what situation, that you're able to make these links going back to your childhood. And then you become able to accept that part of yourself and be like, okay, I understand why I'm someone that dissociates easily and that's out of focus and that has a hard time managing my emotion, because these are the coping mechanisms that used to protect me when I was a child, right? So you might make that link and then become grateful towards yourself, towards that part of yourself, and then that makes you accept a new part of yourself that you always disowned before, but now you're finding gratitude for it, and you're giving it a new meaning, a new sense, right? So this is where I believe the shadow work ties in with the self-love concept. Um, Again, shadow work is not something to be afraid of. It's not negative. It's to me, it's another form of self-growth, of self-therapy, um, of a new concept to really appreciate all of the parts of yourself, right? But it's very hard to look at all of these aspects of yourself just being by yourself, right? Like, in general, you're not triggering your own self. So what this means is that you do need connections in your life, even the ones that are in a more negative light, because in order to grow and evolve, you need those challenges. You need these people around you to bring forth those challenges for you to change and work on yourself and bring out these shadow sides of yourself that needs to be addressed, right? So this is my and just to finish the whole thing off, basically the part about letting go is to just accept things as they are and let go of trying to change everything and always trying to have a control over things, right? So if you meet a certain connection and it's not working out, and but it has made you evolve, it has made you grow, well, somewhere in there, maybe stop trying to force it to work, right? Maybe that was a connection for you to teach you things, but now it's time to move on, right? Like, let's say you meet someone and it was because you had no boundaries before, and that person really made you um, you know work on your boundaries. Then right there you have your answer, right? Then you can just let it go. You don't need to keep pushing for things to work. You don't need to keep trying to find a sense or a meaning for that connection. And that goes for everything else, basically, you know, like it's there, everything's already kind of planned on how it should be happening, but we create our own anxiety and our own fears by trying to control everything and trying to push for things that sometimes are just not meant for us, you know. So that's letting go is a very hard thing to do when you are in a society that commands and celebrates people that take control all the time, and that there always needs to be productivity and almost like aggressiveness towards things, right? It's, you know, letting go and sitting back and just kind of accepting on how things are happening can sometimes be coined as someone who doesn't do anything, or, you know, who doesn't want anything in life. But sometimes that's actually the right thing to do in order to bring forth any sort of positive change in your life, right? And also just for from a emotional and physical standpoint as well, right? Letting go is going to actually help your body have a lot less anxiety, and it's going to help you heal. It's going to, you know, I think it's going to it's a step towards inner peace, probably, right? And if you're able to work with your shadow parts and accept the wholeness of yourself on a subconscious level, because remember, all of your shadow parts need digging into, and they're hidden within your subconscious. So you might not be aware of what they are yet, right? But how do you become aware of your shadow parts? You start by noticing what triggers you. Okay, this person did this. This is how it made me feel. It's okay to feel like this, but also this is how I react to it. Now, is this the right way to react to things? Okay, let me take a step back and really dig into what part within it's bringing out. And it's in that moment, because it's a trigger, it's probably bringing out a part that you have disowned, a part that society has made you feel like it's not okay to have, right? Um, or it might just be something benign, like neutral, like your creativity, right? Maybe you're a very creative person, but society or your parents in your childhood, you were made to you know, that capacity was taken away from you because you didn't have the opportunities laid out for you to be creative, right? But it's probably sleeping within you, and it's a shadow part. So shadow part does not have to equal negative parts, right? So being creative is very, very positive. um, but again, it might be one of your shadow parts because it's sleeping deep down within your subconscious. So you might go around and tell people, oh, I'm not someone that's creative, like I never come up with anything creative, or I'm not good at crafts, or I'm not good to think of solutions. But really you are. You know, it's just a dialogue that you're telling everybody because you've been hearing that dialogue for so long from other people. So you really have to separate what you hear from society, what you hear, what you've been hearing, what you've been programmed to think for the majority of your life. You have to go back to your roots and dig into yourself, dig into your subconscious, and you know, your higher self, because within yourself you know the truth. You know, there's a program. We're like computers. We've been programmed all of our lives. Um, but you do have the truth of who you are, you know, your authenticity within. You just have to let go, start noticing, start feeling, observe, and just start feeling everything around you. The wind, the air, you know, the warmness of the air, how you feel, you know, do you feel calm? Do you feel confused? Do you feel happy, excited? Why? Why do you feel that way? And accept that, and just, you know, be present and let it go. And if you need to do more work on a certain feeling, it's going to lead you to work on the correct shadow part, and eventually accepting these parts of yourself is going to lead to great things. And I trust me, it's going to lead to a lot of self-improvement in general. That's for sure, because I've lived that. It's it's a great form of working on oneself. So I hope this gives you the taste, at least, to sort of, kind of observing your connections around you, and try to observe what kind of shadow parts they're making surface for you to be able to focus and work on, rather than just reacting all the time. You can really start um, to take those connections and really get something great out of every single connection. So with that, I'm leaving you, and have a really nice end of day.